Hello, and welcome back to the ministry, and today we are talking about trials and tribulations. So, let's begin. Trials and tribulations. I've come to an understanding in my spiritual journey that everything happens for a reason. We are in a time frame and a season where we're in the midst of one of the most major transfers in history of Christendom we've seen. There's about to be a supernatural wealth transfer unlike anything that we've seen. Some of the things that we see happening in the world today actually are launching pads for that wealth transfer to happen. So with that being said, you may see trials and tribulations, but sometimes the Lord is kind of almost using those trials and tribulations as a Trojan horse to move the issue out the way, clear the space, and open up a door for you to be able to get to where he's trying to get you to go. But sometimes there must be a falling away and a falling of things in order for there to be a building up. It's like the scripture that talks about you can't put new wine in old wineskins. So if you can't put new wine in old wineskins, how do you think you can build up something new on top of a basis that was old? You have to demolish the old thing, and then you have to build it up anew. But when the old thing's being demolished, it looks like what? Trials and tribulations. When God is preparing to enter you into a new season, he has to demolish the vehicle he used in that season to get you there, to give you the eyes to see the new vehicle he's using to take you to your next location. And sometimes that looks like a bunch of warfare before you get to your next destination. And you're sitting there looking like, why am I in this? I thought that everybody just released a bunch of word. We're in a new season, a new time. This is a blessing. Why in the world am I going through chaos right now? Because the enemy comes to bring chaos, but the Lord may allow that chaos in order to dismantle the thing that's preventing you from getting to where you're trying to go. Or to prevent you, the Lord allows it to prevent you from taking with you things that you would take with you that are unnecessary to go into your next season. You may not know why at the time, and it may be annoying to go through that process. But it happens for a reason. And the reason is to prepare you for where you're going. And sometimes you think the enemy is attacking you and you are experiencing things because something otherworldly is going on or out to get you. Now, there are other people that believe in other religions that would call it bad karma. That's a new age term. Bad luck. There are some people that don't believe in Christ and God, and they would literally say that, oh, you upset God. And some might even say that, but none of these are the case. So what is actually going on? That sometimes it may be believed that the enemy did it actually to blaspheme God and or to mock God in your life, because the enemy is always out to prevent you from getting to where God is trying to get you to go. Because he knows when you get where you're trying to go, there's going to be breakthrough. There's going to be change. There's going to be transition. Even if you listen to the words that I released yesterday talking about Sleeping Beauty, it talks about the type of warfare that comes against kingdom marriage to prevent the two that are meant to be together from coming together. I'm not even going to get into that. I might mention it in my next word because I got another word coming up behind this. But I want to deal with the trials and tribulations today. All of it is a test. And even though it feels like the enemy is whipping your behind. Perfect example. Let's see. This is something that happens to me regularly. Waking up to my father playing a video at 7 o'clock in the morning. God, this happens even today. Keeping me awake. There's some ratchet stuff on TV. Feeling down in my mood. Having to walk places that I don't really want to walk to. Irritations. Or maybe you are dealing with a child and the child is having a temper tantrum. Feeling like you're between snapping and cussing somebody out. Feeling like there's just a lot of confusion. This week has been a week that there's been a lot of spiritual confusion released. The beginning of the week, I was warned that there was going to be provoking spirits and spirits of projection that were going to start operating. Spirit of Python, Leviathan, all of this kind of stuff. Anytime you get a warning, 9 times out of 10, either that spirit will come to test to see if you paid attention, or you will end up being tested in that area in which you just got a warning about. So I got a warning about provoking spirits. I got a warning about misunderstandings, all these kinds of things. But I'm grateful when I get warnings, so when I see it, I'm not freaking out like, where did that come from? And I was seeing it not only happen to me, I was seeing it happening to the other young women that I follow. They were talking about the exact same attacks, the exact same confusion that they were dealing with. But with that understanding, it's the element of God is a God that gives you wisdom and understanding and gives you knowledge of things that you do not know. So when He gives you the knowledge of it, you're prepared for whatever trial and tribulation is to come, to let you know, okay, this isn't as bad as you think it is. It's just something's happening right now. So with that being said, you have to be aware. How does the enemy come at you? Through your eye gates, smell, taste, touch, hearing, the things that you're putting into your ears, mentally, emotional, physical, spiritual, socially, and financially. Write that down, because those are the levels that you will 9 times out of 10 see him attacking you in. If you write those down, you will always be aware to be aware of those areas. These are the places. If he doesn't, if you can cover 10 of the 11 areas, he gonna hit you in that 11th area. I never forget this. I remember I was moving from one location to another location, and something in my spirit said, anoint the bags with oil. I anointed every single bag with oil. Wouldn't you know, when I came back, the day that I moved, I couldn't find the one bag that I forgot to anoint with oil. Went back, checked for it, wasn't there. It was gone. The enemy is always looking for a way to steal, kill, and destroy. You got to be on your game 24/7, 365. And one of his main attributes is he knows that you're on your game if you're one to be on your game in all areas. So what they usually send is a spirit of fatigue to make you tired. A lot of the people that I listen to within this past couple of days have all been saying the same thing. And a lot of the encouragers have been appointed to come on and bring messages that really bring them back into alignment. Get it together, snap out of it. We still in a fight. Keep going. Because even myself, I've been in a state of, I'm not saying unbelief, and I'm not saying I'm expectant. I'm in a state where I don't want to get too happy about anything, and I don't want to get too pressed about anything. So I'm kind of in that neutral state. I'm still praying for it. I'm still standing for it. But I'm allowing myself to sit in a rested, peaceful state, which sometimes it may feel like, oh, you're not expectant. No, I expect it, but I'm not getting up in arms because I'm not thinking that it's sitting up there, oh, it's going to be here tomorrow. It's going to be here tomorrow. Because sometimes people get in that phase of suddenly where they're like, oh my God, it's going to be tomorrow. And I heard Apostle say this one time, and he said, when God says it, it sounds like it's going to be tomorrow. And sometimes it isn't. And you have to gauge your mood, because the enemy will use that against you. Because if you're sitting there looking for something at a door to come open tomorrow and it's not yet, the enemy will seep in that space and become a wedge that will seep in doubt, fear, confusion. And the next thing you know, you're sitting in anxiety, you're sitting in depression, you're sitting in doubt, oppression, all this kind of stuff. And the thing that God wanted to give you, he can't even give it to you because you're too weighed down with all of these other things. Why? Because you've been under the weight of these trials and tribulations. What you'll find is sometimes you'll have a, what do you call it? What the enemy will do, depending on what kind of season you're walking through, he will either shake up every area of your life externally and try to cause you confusion when you're trying to work, when you're trying to do this, when you're trying to do that, when you're trying to. It's a repetitive attack that he uses in order to disorient you. I talked about this slightly the other day when I talked about what the prophetess I listened to calls an alligator roll. And it's almost like when you are pushed into the midst of a gang fight where you're pushed into the center and they just pushing you back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. That's what the enemy tries to do with things in your atmosphere. It will push things back and forth, back and forth, back and forth in order to get you frustrated. Like I said, make you want to cuss, make you want to do all these kinds of things to get you out of your own character, so then he can accuse you and say, well, she said she was Christian, look at her cussing. Oh, she said she was this, look at her agitated. We're still human beings. That's never going to change. Just because we became Christians doesn't make us holier than thou and emotions aren't there. We just understand how to sit in peace and control our emotions. But a lot of these things are still there. We go through different trials. We go through tribulations. We go through these types of things. But as we are going through, we come into the understanding that there is a blessing in the midst of it. And that if we are going through trials and tribulation, that the Lord is preparing us for something better. For me, I know that the fall has never been really a season that I loved. But I know it's a season that It comes every year, but it has a connotation to it that brings your mood down. There's a seasonal blues that comes with the fall, as well as there's a seasonal element where the enemy usually tries his most attacks in the midst of this type of season, fall and winter. You lose things. Maybe you've lost people in this season. Maybe you've lost all that kind of stuff. But he tries to make this season and time frame a sad season for you. And October is like boot up, suit up, and get ready, because that's the month where you will deal with the most spiritual warfare, because the enemy is operating in witchcraft in the most annoying element that you will see. You just have to make sure that when you're seeing these things happen, remember how to guard your ears, your eyes, everything, because he's trying it. He's trying it. Know it, be aware of it, but do not feed into it. Understand, be cognitively aware, and understand God is a blessing. The point is, we go through trials, but when you go through these things, God is trying to show you, I can put my hand on it and protect you. What it says in Jeremiah 29:11, that I will protect you from harm. And other people I was reading something that is a recollection that I didn't want to talk about. You'll go through things, you'll be blessed in the midst of it, but it just means that there are times to come where you will receive blessings. You may lose things. You may think that there are things that you're going to have all the way through up until you get to this place or that place, but it's not that. It's the fact that God is in control of the whole scenario, but you have to be open to it. You have to understand it, and you have to be prepared. Okay? So know that you're okay. Know that everything is being taken care of for your behalf, but don't freak out in the midst. Know that this is a season where the enemy actually shouldn't have the right to attack you, but what the enemy will do is he will attempt, and if you receive it, it will open a door for him to be allowed to continue. But if you cut it off when you even see it creating itself, for instance, it's a scripture that goes, the weapons may form, but they shall not prosper. You may see the weapon forming. Cut it off then. Because what the enemy does is he always tries to find a way in. If he can get it in, he's going to take it. But if you recognize and say, I'm not receiving that, I'm not going to allow that to come in, the enemy must flee from you in 7 different directions. Some of these trials and tribulations we may bring in on ourselves because we forget what season we're in. We're coming out of the season of testing. We're coming out of the season of intense trials and tribulations, and the Lord is trying to bless his people. But the enemy is always going to say, are you sure you out? He wants to bring in doubt. He wants to bring in fear. He wants to bring in intimidation. He wants to bring in oppression. Because if he can't touch you, he's going to try to oppress you to prevent you from getting where you need to go. And you have to keep your eyes and ears open, because there are tribulations, but you must operate like you're not going to continue to allow these things to continue to happen. Not to you. You have to remember who you are, and it's tiring, I know. It's tiring having to be on and on point at all times. It's tiring. There are things in my life that I would much rather be doing with my life. And I'm not even talking about the ministry thing. I'm talking about just being in a better position, working in a better scenario, getting more done, progressing in a different format. And it's like, I feel like, Lord, what are we doing? Because it's that element of, I'm gonna be honest with you, it's that element of, yes, I talked about this yesterday, where I was saying that some of the things that you're putting your hands on, your God ordained spouse has to put his hands on for it to really flourish. There are things that I find myself circling around when it comes down to creating, when it comes down to building, when it comes down to doing work on certain things. And I feel like, God, I can't even get this off the ground until that happens. I was just sitting listening to a video by a young woman. I think her name is Monty Lee. And she was talking about having a plan to accomplish certain things. I've got plans, I've got planners, I've got Trilos, I've got all of these kinds of things. It's not that I don't plan, it's not that I don't. But what I find is that I'll plan something out, and the Lord, the way he works with me, he doesn't operate in plans. Not with me, per se. What he'll do is, I'll give you a download, and I'm pretty sure you'll accomplish it in a day. So, when he says, okay, this is what I need you to do, within the next 24 to 48 hours, I'm accomplishing that thing. Then he'll have me rest, because I ran through the process to make sure that was completed. I remember one day, my dad had left for 10 hours. Over that 10-hour period, I created a formula. I finished recording video content for my course, and then completed the structural development for the thing that I created the formula for. And by 1 o'clock in the morning, from maybe like 1 o'clock in that afternoon, I worked straight. So by 1 o'clock I was ready to crash. And I stopped to mop the floor. So I was in this headspace like, oh my God, I need to focus. But had I not done that, the next 24 hours was spent making tweaks and adjustments that I would have had to been doing while I was making the thing if had I not done it. But I was able to realize where I messed up at, and was able to fix those things and make minor tweaks and edits in that stuff. So I was able to build out something and all of this kind of stuff. Y'all have no idea the stuff that I've got that I have not fully released yet, because the Lord hasn't really shown me where he wants it released, put, contained, so on and so forth. And I'm kind of in this headspace like, Lord, what do you want me to do with this? And I'm feeling kind of frustrated because I have all these things. And a woman and her husband, they did a live 1 week seminar, and the woman spoke over me and she said, you are so pregnant with so many things right now, and God's trying to give you grace, but you're going to birth those things. But it's like being pregnant with multiple babies. And I'm not saying I'm afraid of the day that I get pregnant, because I'm like, I'm uncomfortable now, and I have yet to birth these things fully into the world the way that I desire for them to come out. I do not know what's going to happen when I actually become pregnant, because God's already shown me some things in relation to the times when I become pregnant. Jesus be offensive. That's all I have to say is Jesus be offensive. But I'm not going to hold you. We almost just about done with our time frame here. But yeah, it's that element that you have to be trusting and trustworthy of the Lord, even when you're going through your trials and your tribulations, and understanding God is in control irregardless. So that was my spiel. This is Taj McCameron for love, faith, peace, and blessings. Until next time, bye bye.